You want the moon? Just say the word and I'll throw a lasso around it and pull it down.
Look at the stars. The great kings of the past look down on us from those stars. So whenever you feel alone, just remember that those kings will always be there to guide you.
I don't think it is very useful to speculate on what God might or might not be able to do. Rather, we should examine what he actually does with the universe we live in.
We are all explorers, driven to know what's over the horizon. The most profound discoveries are not necessarily beyond that next star. They're within us, woven into the threads that bind us.
Hello, beautiful people. Happy Monday, happy Moon Day, and happy birthday to some famous Cancers, including Lisa Rinna, Alexia Cara, or Alessia, not Alexia, Justin Chambers, David Henry, like C-list, D-list people, let's be honest. But if you are a Cancer, if you are on our A-list here in the spiritual journalist community, or if someone you know is celebrating a birthday, let us know in the comments so we can celebrate them too. So today's not just a normal Monday. It's also the USA's Pluto return. It's exact Pluto return. We've talked about this already this year because Pluto has made it to this point in the sky once before on 2/22/2022. So a very magical day. But because Pluto is retrograde, it's back at this position. And actually, the United States was founded or born during a Pluto retrograde. So this position feels especially auspicious or important because Pluto is really now at the exact position it was at, moving the direction it was going on July 4th, 1776. So we'll briefly talk about what that means and if we can expect to see anything because of it today, and then we'll talk about the energy ahead. Hope everybody's having a great start to your Monday. Hi, Bailey. Happy to see you here. The sun, of course, is still in Cancer. The moon is in Sagittarius to start our week. So you probably felt the shift yesterday, the energy starting to pick up as the moon moved into Sagittarius. Today, the moon is making some potent connections. We'll talk about those. But in general, the moon in Sagittarius does make us more optimistic, gives us more energy, a nice way to start our week. But let's just dive right into the elephant in the room. The USA Pluto return. What does it mean? Now, first and foremost, I do want to say that we did a full episode of The Spiritual Journalist, or I did a full episode of The Spiritual Journalist on the USA's Pluto return, like an hour-long diving into what it means, what has happened in other countries' histories during their Pluto returns, because remember, it takes Pluto about 250 years to make a lap around the sun. So this is the first time the US has had a Pluto return, but other countries, you know, like Italy or countries that have a much longer history than us have gone through this before. So I'll put a link in the comments if you're interested in watching that episode. It's also a walk through US history as told by Pluto's transits. So for example, if you were born during Pluto in Libra, we talk about the time period that Pluto was in Libra and what was going on in US history. Same thing goes for those of us who have Pluto in Scorpio. So kind of a generational look at Pluto's placements and an interesting way of observing US history as told by Pluto's transits. Hi, Rachel. Happy to see you here. Good morning, Katie. Good morning, Alex. Hello, Julian. Oh, that was the first episode you ever watched and it brought you here. Look at that. So yeah, that's a really good deep dive. I'm not going to go that deep into it today. but just want to give you that option if you are looking to do a deeper dive into the USA's Pluto return. And we also talk about the third time that Pluto makes it to this spot, which I believe is either December or January. So really, although today Pluto is at 27 degrees and 33 minutes, the exact point in the sky it was at when the Declaration of Independence was signed, it's moving retrograde. Pluto moves so slowly. So really this entire year feels like a Pluto return, honestly, for the United States. The whole year has been kind of a death and rebirth, or this pivotal point in the death and rebirth cycle. Because remember, Pluto's been in Capricorn, been moving through this sign for several years now, and it won't move out of Capricorn until later in 2023. So we're in the thick of it, but it's fun when we hit these points to just remind ourselves, what does this mean? So the first time, of course, Pluto made it back here, as I mentioned, was 2/22/2022. We were talking about a lot of things on 2/22/2022. We were talking about, I think it was a Tuesday. It was like a really potent day. And some people were discussing the Pluto return, but I have a feeling we're going to hear a lot more about it today just because of what's going on in the United States. And speaking of what's going on in the United States, very interesting that right around the Pluto return, especially with Pluto retrograde, there is some new legislation taking effect in our government. Let's just do it before we get into that. Capricorn is the sign of authority, the sign of structure, tends to represent our government. So we're experiencing a shakeup in the structures of our government during the USA's Pluto return, right? And just last week, we were talking about the executive order that President Biden signed to try to secure access to abortions for women in the United States. Of course, that's not a done deal, but just interesting that that's starting to kind of take hold, and there's some pushback against the SCOTUS decision. And then today, I woke up to news that a bipartisan bill for gun legislation was signed in the U.S. So it's interesting that we're seeing movement around these pivotal issues that have really defined our country over the past few years and over many decades. Of course, Roe v. Wade, gun violence, these things, we're seeing movement and sort of rebirth, new structures trying to be born or trying to be implemented. Just an interesting note, because of course, when we talk about the US, we kind of have to talk about what's going on in the government. Damn it, Pluto, why? You know, I think it's a good point also to talk about what is Pluto? What does Pluto represent? So Pluto is the planet of death and rebirth, and that death and rebirth usually doesn't feel comfortable. It forces us to confront our shadows. It forces us to go into the belly of the beast, go down into the depths of our collective society, right, during a country's Pluto return. And by the way, none of us will ever experience our own Pluto returns, because unless for some reason we start to make it to 250 years old in our lifetimes, it's just not going to happen. Maybe, probably not even a Pluto opposition, unless you're like the oldest person alive, right? But, you know, Pluto is really known for the darkness and taking us to our depths, but it's also in that darkness that we can be reborn. So the Pluto return does feel like a rebirth of the USA in a lot of ways. And that episode of The Spiritual Journalist is also called Rebirth of a Nation, because, you know, it's an opportunity when all of these issues start to come up, when it feels like we're wading through the muck of our collective shadows together. I mean, just talk about, while Pluto's been in Capricorn, racial justice issues, social justice issues, all the things that have been happening over the past couple years. Why are they happening? They're here to help us rebuild, to help us see what no longer aligns and shape our society in a way that does align with the people who currently live in it, right? So because Pluto is retrograde now, this energy today does feel a little bit more like a review. Remember, retrogrades are times to review, revise, reflect. And it's interesting that the US was born during a Pluto retrograde, or, you know, the Declaration of Independence was signed during a Pluto retrograde. And by the way, let me just pull up the US's birth chart so you can take a gander at that while we chat. You can see lots of Cancer energy. Of course, the United States is a Cancer. Mercury in Cancer, which we're currently experiencing right now. Let's see, Venus in Gemini for the US natal chart. Again, a transit we're experiencing. So the energy is similar in more ways than one to what the founding fathers were experiencing. Now, because the US, as I was saying, was born during a Pluto retrograde, it's interesting that it always feels like we're kind of reflecting, reviewing, revising on the transformation happening within our country. It feels like that's kind of a theme in US history, just in general. Like we're always looking at what's being changed, what's being transformed, and probably contributes to like the capitalistic vibe of our society, right? Like constantly making things better and churning things over. But today specifically, as the US is marking its Pluto return, I see this as a time for us all to review, revise, reflect on these things. So, today's a day in general that you might be thinking about your own past or the history of the US and the changes that are happening in the present moment. And there are a lot of changes happening in the present moment. But also with Pluto in Capricorn, Capricorn is the sign of long-term goals. Oh my goodness! Holy moly, Pluto, this light hasn't moved, you guys, in months. And it's just deciding Pluto's making an entrance. Okay. What in the world? Okay, this is a live stream, friends. This is what happens. Give me a moment. Okay, I think we're back. What in the world? Okay, the lighting just decided to have a mind of its own. Oh my goodness. Okay, let's wrap up the Pluto talk though. I think that's a sign. So just in general, this is a time to review what's been going on, right? Reflect on the changes that are happening. And because Pluto is the sign of long-term goals, look to the future, right? Look to what structures we want to build moving forward that will be more stable and sturdy for everyone who lives in the United States now, because it's no secret that the landscape of our country physically and the people in it have changed so much over the past 250 years. Our beliefs have changed. What's true for all of us has changed. So now is a time where we are changing our society and transforming our society to reflect the needs of the people in it now. Okay. I was really deep. Yeah. And then everything came crashing down, which feels very Pluto, right? It's the collapse in order to be reborn, Thanks. Thanks, everyone. What in the world? I wish we were working on wildfires here. I got kicked out of Yosemite 2 days into our 5-day trip because it caught on fire. Something else, I know that's more California than the US, but the actual environment is changing. And this isn't just in the US, but worldwide, of course. But just interesting that it feels like there's fuel being added to the fire of this churning in the US, right? The comfort zone is a beautiful place to visit, but nothing ever grows there, so it's not a great place to live. It's good to get pushed outside our comfort for growth. Absolutely. And, I think it is part of our culture and has always been part of our culture to grow and to transform, to be different, to do things differently, to honor the people who live here. These are principles that are written into the fabric of the United States. It's just over time, the words in the Constitution and the Declaration of Independence have been warped. It's kind of like the Bible too. People really have honed in on the specific meanings. And sometimes it takes us zooming out to look at the original intention to really make change that reflects the intentions of the founding fathers, right? Powerful episode. Thank you. I sent that episode about Pluto to so many people. Oh, thanks, Jackie. So, you can go listen to the episode if you want to learn more about the USA's Pluto return, but I'm sure a lot of people will be talking about it today, and specifically with the energy of today that we're walking into, that we're going to talk about now. It does feel like we're at this pivotal point between the past and the future. So let's talk about that. Here's the major transit that's playing out for us today. The sun is connecting with the north and south nodes. So these points in our solar system, actually on our moon, that represent our past and our future, represent our comfort zone and getting out of our comfort zone. So really interesting that we're experiencing this transit the day that we're really thinking about the transformation that's been going on in the US. Now, the sun in Cancer is forming a sextile to the north node and a trine to the south node. This transit is exact pretty much right now, actually. And so you'll see the sun over here, 19 degrees, forming a 60-degree angle to the north node in Taurus and a 120-degree angle to the south node in Scorpio. Now, these are fortunate, positive angles to both the north and south node, but the sextile to the north node is like that push, or asking us to kind of lean into, or I should say lean out of, our comfort zone in order to move in the direction we're supposed to go. We can clearly align with the lessons we've already learned, the energy we've already embodied as the sun harmonizes with the south node, representing that comfort zone, our past lives, even the energy we're most comfortable in. But this sextile to the north node is really asking us today to push the boundaries of our comfort zone, to take intentional steps towards the future we're meant to embody, the path we're supposed to walk, really as a collective, but also as individuals too. It's like we can consciously see the direction we're supposed to go. The sun ruling our consciousness, the north node ruling the path forward, the energy we're supposed to be more and more like through this lifetime. Now, we're more connected to our intuition during Cancer season. You might have been feeling that, or even just seeing more posts or more people talk about intuition during Cancer season. So allowing your feelings to be your guide is definitely favored under this transit, and just throughout Cancer season in general. Like, taking the temperature, like if you're getting ready to maybe push out of your comfort zone, asking your intuition, does this feel correct? Does this feel right for me? And that doesn't mean it's supposed to feel easy or safe, but just kind of checking back in with yourself with those gut feelings during Cancer season. And so, we can also, as the sun is harmonizing with the south node, we can pull lessons from the past. We can easily use the things we've already learned, the wisdom we've already gained, in order to keep making strides towards the future, towards the direction we're supposed to go. So it really is playing into this future past dynamic that the Pluto return is highlighting today as well. Let's talk about what's going on with the moon, because the moon is really going to dominate how we feel today, as it does every day. But the moon's making a lot of connections. So we have a waxing gibbous moon in Sagittarius. We're making our way towards the full moon in Capricorn on Wednesday. The waxing gibbous phase is the time to make adjustments, to gather some final data, take the final steps before that culmination point that's marked by the full moon. And with the waxing gibbous moon in Sagittarius, it's like, what adjustments do we need to make? What resources do we need to gather to align with the highest abundance, the fullest potential, the biggest possible outcome? Because Sagittarius is like, the bigger the better, right? Like, the more abundance, the better. And we're more optimistic under the Sagittarius moon. It's like, we got this, we're making steps in the right direction. We're more generous under a Sagittarius moon, especially as the moon is gaining light now. We're like feeling ourselves a little bit more. And you could just expect it in general to feel more outgoing and social during this moon phase. So the first connection the moon made today was a trine to Chiron. This happened at 4 a.m. So as we were waking up, or maybe overnight, I noticed a lot of people were up really late last night, myself included. Remember, the only connection the moon made yesterday was a trine to Jupiter. So it was like all the energy all day yesterday. I don't know if you felt that. But this morning, the moon formed that same angle to Chiron at 16 degrees. So the moon was really bright and beautiful. Yeah, we noticed that too last night. It's really getting bright up there. So this trine to Chiron, Chiron isn't going to, it's not a major planet, but as we're starting our day, there could be some healing realizations that come through. It's a nice harmonious angle the moon made to Chiron this morning. So it's like an awareness of how much we've healed already, what wounds maybe still need some tending to, but this is really playing into the transformative power we've been talking about, helping us transform pain points into power, especially under this optimistic Sagittarius moon. It's like, okay, yeah, we've been through some hard things, but this fortunate angle between the moon and Chiron is like, take what you've gone through and turn it into healing, turn it into a resource that you can use to help other people as well. So, you could have some healing moments today under that aspect. The energy we will probably feel most strongly when it comes to the moon today is in opposition to Venus. So once the moon hits 22 degrees, it's going to directly oppose Venus in Gemini. You can see that there, and that happens about 2 p.m. Pacific time. So middle of the day today, we're really starting to feel this opposition between the moon and Venus. And that just makes us need love, need affection. We might even be more like spontaneous or impulsive under the Sagittarius moon to get that love and get that affection that we're craving. We're also more prone to like overlooking the reality of the situation, only paying attention to the silver linings in order to feel good in the moment, right? Like I always, with Venus transits, I always just use food as an example because yes, like physical love, physical affection from people around you is definitely playing into this energy, but sometimes we're not in a situation where we can get that from other people. And so I find a lot of times Venus can really rule how we interact with food and like physical resources, and you might, by the middle of the day today, be like, I just want that candy bar. I just want something to feel good. Sometimes we reach for love and affection in the form of food or, whatever that looks like for you. But we're really prone to reaching for a quick fix to feel some pleasure this afternoon. And just kind of, this is like a needy energy. We just need to feel good. We want to feel good. So sleepy yesterday, took a nice nap. So did I. But it was interesting because after the nap, I just got like a surge of energy and I was awake until like 2 o'clock in the morning. So interesting. Okay. Now this evening, the energy shifts a little bit. The moon connects with Saturn and Neptune. First, around 5 p.m. Pacific, forming a sextile to Saturn over here at 24 degrees in Aquarius. And then shortly after at 7 p.m. squaring off to Neptune. This energy, it's like we need love by the middle of the day. We're outgoing. We just want to feel good. And then this sextile to Saturn does help us slow down, act a little bit more responsibly, act with maturity, and kind of return to our senses in some ways. As we are gathering resources, making those adjustments we talked about leading up to the full moon, Saturn is actually slowing us down enough to see the bigger picture. And the Sagittarius moon helps with that. It helps us kind of see the big picture, see the overarching themes that are playing out in our life. And Saturn's all about the long term, the long haul. So, as we're focused on this cycle, the intentions we set under the Cancer new moon and what we want to come to fruition under the full moon this week, this transit today feels like, okay, wait, look at the bigger picture though here. And, look back at the past 6 months even. Sometimes it takes more than one moon cycle for things to come to fruition. So this is really a moment to look to the past when the moon forms a sextile to Saturn this evening and review the lessons we've already learned, appreciate the lessons we've already learned, give thanks under the Sagittarius moon. Gratitude is really, really favored. Give thanks for the lessons you've already learned, and that can help you look to the future with more optimism as well. But the square to Neptune, shortly after, the moon squaring off Neptune creates some confusion tonight. So you might feel like you're kind of stuck in the middle. Like, okay, we reviewed the lessons, we've seen the healing that's already happened with that Chiron connection today. Like, we're ready for the next phase, right? Like, we're ready to move on. But it might feel a little bit foggy as to what that next phase actually looks like, or what the next move is to keep heading in the direction of the intentions you set. Today's not a day in general, I would say, to make decisions. There's not a ton of clarity today, or anything that's super favorable for like move forward or make decisions. It really does feel like we are kind of in the middle of the past and the future with all of the transits happening today. And especially tonight when the moon is squaring Neptune, creating this fogginess, this confusion. It's blurring as our boundaries. It's making us question what's real. What do we really want? You know, it's almost like the moon in Sagittarius is the archer, and once it squares off to Neptune, it's like, oh wait, which direction do I point the arrow in, you know? So instead of trying to figure it out today, I would say this is a day to ponder, to reflect, to review. We're talking about the Pluto return. We're talking about this point between the past and the future, with the sun connecting to the north and south nodes. This is a day to like lean into your imagination, think about the possibilities, honor the past, just really sit with everything that's transpired and everything you're hoping to create. And that's going to be, I think, more powerful and serve you better than trying to make it all work out or make decisions right now. And, you know, we're getting closer to the full moon. Once the moon moves into Capricorn tomorrow, things get a little bit more practical. We're starting to realize, realize is a big word you're going to hear from me a lot, especially around the full moon, because there's a lot of aspects that favor realizations. So today is not the day those realizations are coming through. Today's a day where we're just kind of like reflecting, looking to the future, like, okay, we're kind of in the middle, we're ready for something else, but just be here now. Be here now today. After the moon squares off to Neptune tonight, it goes void for the rest of the day. So this evening, kick up your feet, relax, tie up any loose ends that you don't want to deal with after this moon cycle. And, you know, it's like this is a nice downtime after the high of the Sagittarius moon over the past couple days. I would just say tonight, if you're feeling confused, this is confirmation to wait to make any moves until tomorrow, until the moon moves into Capricorn. Venus in Gemini, yes, been facing love-needy issues, pushing to look for that within and in spirituality instead of those quick fixes. Great advice, Fern. Venus in Gemini is that, like, you know, we just want something new, something different. We want to try all the things in love, and that can definitely contribute to this opposition between the moon and Venus today. Like, we just want a new experience. We just want to try something new, or, you know, do something different. Like, variety is what it's all about with Gemini. Maybe talk to someone new. Like, this could even be a tempting, now that you're saying this could be a tempting transit to like flirt. And I mean, if you're in a position to flirt, go for it, yes. But if not, don't go down that road today. There's part of you that's going to be like, ooh, shiny, new. Like, I want to have that need to feel good and to get attention and affection. I want that to feel fulfilled, but don't do it. Just don't. You know, Venus and Gemini, it's a trick, okay? Since your trip was shortened, you're taking this day to relax your mind, get ready for my new career change next week. Ooh, we love that after the Capricorn full moon too, right? Capricorn ruling our careers. Yeah, I mean, if you're in a position to flirt, there you go. There's your permission slip. But don't be too spontaneous or impulsive either, because the Sagittarius moon, we're just like, okay, we're ready for an adventure. Let's go. Let's do it. And we can kind of overlook the details, right? Rachel says, I feel like the universe has been teaching me how to give myself the love I need. I tend to be a people pleaser, Libra energy for sure, seek love from others. So I've been really learning how to give myself what I need. Beautiful reflection, beautiful words. And that's a great energy to lean into under this opposition between the moon and Venus today. It's really easy to look outside of ourselves for that affection, for that love, to feel good. But ultimately, you're the only person who can love yourself exactly how you want to be loved, right? And give yourself exactly what you need. You're the only person who knows what you need exactly. And so it's a really beautiful realization to be in. And I'm proud of you for being here. Like, that's amazing. It's so easy in our society and with how many of us have been raised to fall into codependent patterns, both men and women, and to constantly be seeking love and fulfillment from the other people in our relationships, whether it's, romantic relationships or even friendships. We can be really codependent with our friends or family members, siblings. And I know a lot of people, myself included, have been breaking those tendencies and learning to find love within and be okay on our own. And that is truly empowering. Once you get into the energy of like, I don't need anybody else, you'll find that your relationships actually flourish because there's not this energy of desperation, right? It's just contentment. And once you're more at peace and fully loving yourself, you can put that energy out more easily for other people. It's just beautiful reflection. Flirt turning into talking shit. Yes, that's Venus and Gemini for sure. And see how you do that if you're good, just to want to see the mirror of you. Oh, yeah. Flirting is a great way of like mirroring too, like when you kind of poke people in that like talking shit, flirting way, and then they kind of do it back. It's an interesting mirroring practice. I'll give you that. Good, you're well behaved. Yes. Beautiful reflections, everyone. Thank you for bringing that up, Rachel. So yeah, in general today, it's like we're in this pivotal point between the past and the future, and just be here and ponder and see what comes up and try not to reach for something to appease the discomfort of the moment. Try not to act quickly in an attempt to not feel what you're feeling or be in this middle space, which is often uncomfortable. This is where we're supposed to be today, in this place of pondering and reflecting. And that brings us to, I'm going to flirt with you when you finish up. I'm going to leave right after I finish this. So, we're going to have to wait until later, but I see you in the comments, boo. Okay. Today's affirmation, speaking of the past and the future, I honor my past to embrace my future. I think so many of us, speaking of the US and our society and how so many of us have been raised, it's like we're always looking ahead. What's next? How can we push forward? How can we achieve more? How can we climb higher? How can we get the raise? How can we make more money, right? But a lot of times we fail to honor what we've already accomplished. And that's going to be a theme we're really talking about all week under the Capricorn full moon. Honoring how we've already succeeded, honoring how we have already achieved so much, not just as individuals, but, the same goes as we're talking about the USA's Pluto return. It's really easy to be like, this is what needs to be changed, and this is what's wrong with our society, and these are the things we need to do in the future. All of them pretty much valid. But what if we just took a moment to also honor how far we've already come? Things are far from perfect. I will be the first to admit that. This is in no way saying that I am content with what's going on in our country at the moment. But it's certainly not 1776, right? As women, we have more rights, more freedom. People of color have more rights and more freedom than they did in 1776. That is for sure. We've learned a lot. We're in this information age where we're all more aware of the accurate history of what's played out in the US, right? For many years, kids in school were not being taught what truly happened in our country. And so just kind of honoring the past, honoring the people who have helped us make strides to this point. And I think being in that energy of gratitude, especially under today's Sagittarius moon, and in that energy of reflection, can help us move forward on more stable ground and with more integrity, I think, looking to the future and realizing it is possible to make huge change because look at how much we've already transformed. And that's not just for the US, that goes for ourselves personally. Giving yourself credit for how much you've already grown, how much you've already accomplished, you're going to be in the energy of success, and that's only going to help you succeed even more moving forward. Who are you? What is this flirtiness happening today? That's okay. Yes, enjoy your choices, enjoy your flirting. But I love how Fern brought up, like, it is interesting how sometimes flirting turns into talking crap, like, really easily. Yes, I love this. So grateful for everything that I have and getting grounded for the future. Being in the energy of gratitude is the best way to manifest. It all ties back in. Honoring everything you've already called in can bring in more of it. So, we can really embody that energy collectively too. Honoring how many strides we've made individually and collectively can help us make even more strides moving forward. All right, let's end today's live stream with a card pull. I'm going to pull from the Work Your Light deck today. Just was calling to me. I think we need a little bit of reminder of our light, especially as we're talking about Pluto. So as I'm shuffling, this is your chance to ask questions. Let me know how the energy is feeling for you. You know I'm mad about air vibes. Venus and Gemini. Whoa, okay. That pulled out. We're just going to go with it. Venus and Gemini is an interesting energy. Venus moves into Cancer on Sunday. So that's a bit of a change up and a little bit more, it'll be more like homey, nurturing vibes when it comes to love. Right now, Venus and Gemini is just like, we're going to get love anywhere we can find it, Okay, I want a light card today. Well, the card of the day is Share Your Voice. Come out of the cave, persecution, expression. And it just flipped over as I was shuffling. It just wanted to be pulled today. So let's see what message it has for us. Here we go. Share your voice feels very on brand for the Pluto return, right? You're being called to share your voice, perhaps by speaking up in a relationship or through writing, speaking, singing, or some other form of creative expression. We each hold a deep truth within us that longs to be expressed. Sculpted for lifetimes, the voice of your soul is like no other. It carries with it wisdom that can only be gained through soul history and growth. By remembering, tapping into, and expressing this unique tone, we not only heal ourselves, but we also heal the planet at large. When you share your voice, you unlock something in the universe and call a missing piece of you home. Your individual voice is the most powerful sound current on the planet. If you've kept your soul's voice silenced or held back, chanting or singing could be truly life-changing for you. As we shed the layers of our personality and start letting our unique soul speak through us, we discover that we actually have a very clear message that longs to be shared. The more we speak it, the clearer it gets. There has never been a better time in history than right now to rise up, speak your truth, and share your soul's voice. If you feel fearful, know that you are not alone and that the world needs your unique tone in order to harmonize. As we each rise up and share our song, we make it easier for the next person to do the same. Express yourself, share your voice, speak to those who can hear you. I love this card for everything we talked about today. It talks about shedding layers of our personality and starting to let our unique soul shine through. As we talk about the USA's Pluto return, this collective transformation we're going through, it's a reminder that each of us has a duty to rise up. And that's not necessarily a rise up and protest or revolt, but to share our own truth. And by doing that, we energetically rise and we raise the vibration of our collective, of our country, of our world. It's also a reminder to share your voice in singing or in talking, and that can help you kind of sort through this pivotal point we're in today of like remembering and honoring the past. It literally says by remembering, tapping into, and expressing this unique tone, we not only heal ourselves, we also heal the planet at large. The moon harmonizing with Chiron. We talked about healing today. We talked about remembering. We talked about honoring the past. And this is a reminder that sharing our voice, speaking about the things that are important to us, speaking our truth. Pluto is all about the truth as well. It's part of the transformation. It's part of the journey. And so this is just your reminder to speak up for what's important to you today. I want more light language instead of verbal communication. Fern, I don't channel light language, or I've never channeled light language before, but I I see you. And, maybe that's a sign that it's going to come through at some point. I don't know. I don't think light language is something you can just be like, I'm going to decide to speak this now. But who knows? I could be wrong. And what's really interesting, actually, that you say that is, so I mentioned I'm like leaving my house right after this live. I am going with my best friend up to the river. She is a vocal coach and she's giving me a voice lesson. And so I think it's really interesting that for me personally, I pulled the Share Your Voice card today. It literally talks about singing, sharing your voice, unlocking something in the universe, and calling a piece of you home. So, as I'm out there by the river singing, if you're just driving in your car, hanging in your house, and you feel called to sing, maybe put on a fun song today too, we can sing together. We don't have to be in the same place, and we'll both be raising our vibration together and raising the vibration of the world together. Such a good card, right? I mean, so beautiful. I've been trying to figure out different ways to express my values in a way that doesn't create conflict in my relationship. Love that reminder I can speak up when needed. Yeah, and you talked about being a people pleaser. So a lot of the times we're like, ooh, but if I say that, I probably know the outcome is not going to keep the peace, right? But this is your reminder. If something is really true to you and authentic to you, stifling it is only going to create more resentment. So share your voice. You can do it in a kind way, or sing it, Elton. Speaking of singing, sometimes singing, I'm not sure if you realize this, but when you sing, it activates your vagus nerve, which I believe is like right here, and that controls your parasympathetic nervous system. So singing is actually a really great way to regulate your nervous system if you're feeling anxious or any uncomfortable emotion. Singing actually helps your whole body regulate. So that's another, if you're feeling uncomfortable, caught in the middle today, sing a song. It will physically make you feel better. Thank you. Thanks so much, Rachel. I will definitely stay hydrated. Thank you. You guys are funny. All right, everybody. That is going to do it for today's episode of Transits Today. Tomorrow, we're going to be talking more about the energy leading up to the full moon in Capricorn. Of course, on Wednesday, we'll have a full show with what the full moon means for you. We also have another episode of The Spiritual Journalist tomorrow with Ellie Lee. She is an influencer, I guess you could call her, but she's also a mystical life coach, and she's hugely popular on TikTok and Instagram for her videos about spirituality. So we're going to talk all about spirituality on social media and this kind of collective rise in spirituality thanks to apps like Instagram and TikTok, and just kind of how her own success has completely shaped the trajectory of her life. We have a lot in common. She's an on-camera host, but does more entertainment reporting. So she's done stuff for like E! and iHeartRadio. And now her life has kind of taken a similar pivot, and she's focusing on coaching people spiritually in her own way. So that'll be a fun episode. If you're available tomorrow at 1:11 p.m., you can join us live or watch anytime. Thank you for being here, Alex. I wish you happy flirting, if that's what's calling you today. Share your voice in a flirty way, maybe. Peace and blessings to you. Thank you, Bailey. You have a fun day today as well. And yes, I will soak in some sun and river just for you. All right, everybody. I'm so grateful for you showing up for this community every day. It truly means the world to me. If you found this video helpful and you're new here, please go ahead and like and subscribe. That's the subscriber numbers going up every day, and we're getting closer and closer to 1,000 when we can finally monetize the channel. It's like the one thing keeping us from monetizing this channel. So we're almost there. Share with your friends. And thank you for showing up for yourself today. I really appreciate you. I'm sending you so much love on this Monday, so much light ahead for the week to come, and just love seeing you all in the comments. All right. I hope you have a beautiful Monday. Until I see you next, stay curious. Thank you so much for joining us and aligning with the energy of the universe today. If you enjoyed this morning's episode of Transits Today, you can join our live astrology discussion every weekday morning right here wherever you're watching. And head to thespiritualjournalist.com to read your daily astrology forecast and browse the Spiritual Shop. The most fun way to help keep these forecasts free and support more content like this is to buy yourself a little something on our website. But if you're feeling extra generous, you can also buy me a coffee to fuel future live streams. Just tap the link in the description or head to buymeacoffee.com and search The Spiritual Journalist. And speaking of, you can also tune in to The Spiritual Journalist, our weekly live interview where we ask our guests questions about everything from crystals and manifestation to mental health and the environment. Those conversations stream live right here wherever you're watching now every Tuesday. I'm so grateful you found us here, and I can't wait for our next conversation.